What is the most horrible torture in the world? Have you ever seen a torture more brutal than beheading? From Swedish drink to white terror, humans have always had a remarkable talent for torturing their own kind. So today we're going to take a look at some of the most brutal tortures in history. Number 10, Poena Coeli, also known as the sack. This torture was practiced in ancient Rome. He would put his victims in a sack, and then put all kinds of cute little animals like rats and snakes. Then the sack was tied tightly and thrown into the river. As the bag slowly filled up with water, the animals inside will panic and tear each other apart. The victim, caught in the middle, is in for an unforgettable ride. This punishment is used for the most heinous of crimes. Number 9, scafing is also known as boating. Before being tortured, the victim's stomach is filled with milk and honey. Then they were tied to a boat and covered with wooden planks. Only the limbs and head were exposed. Once the boat had traveled into the lakes and swamps, the brutal punishment began. Because of the rocking of the boat and a stomach full of the honey mixture, the victim would vomit. The swamp creatures swarmed over them. Over the next few days, the boat would be filled with all sorts of critters. The victim is slowly devoured in agony. And to make matters worse, for the more resilient inmates, will be rescued and re-executed several times. Number 8, the rat. This is a cute little mouse, but soon it won't be cute anymore. It's placed on the prisoner's stomach and held in a tin can. Then the guards will start heating up the tin. At this point, the panicked mouse can't help digging holes in the prisoner's body. For the worst offenders, there's an upgraded version. They would fill the tin with rats that had been starving for 7 or 8 days and put it right on the prisoner's head. A rat that hasn't eaten for days will go crazy. The image is unimaginable. Number 7, water drops. In ancient times, water torture was not only used as a punishment, it could also be used for interrogation. A prisoner would be tied to a wooden board. Then a bucket filled with water was placed on top of it. A small hole was drilled in the bottom of the bucket that would allow the water to drip periodically onto the head of the prisoner. Although it doesn't sound so horrible. But it would go on for a long time, even months. As the time passes, the prisoner's body and mind would be tortured. Gradually, the only sound left in the head is the ticking. And if that's not brutal enough, there are 7 more horrific punishments.
This is a freshly laid egg from a queen bee. It takes about 3 days for it to hatch into a larva. The moment it develops into a bee, it's been working all its life. Bees are social insects. It's made up of a queen, drones, and workers. The honeybee larva is white in color. It needs to stay in the hive for 5 to 7 days to develop into a pupa. At this stage, the larva feeds daily on royal jelly secreted by the worker bees. Until the moment it develops into a pupa, it has to go through 6 molts in total. After the pupa develops into a bee, all the organs of the body have begun to develop, but the skeleton is still soft. Then the pigment will be reorganized and the eyes will develop. At this stage, their bodies begin to dry out, shrink, and grow fuzz. The body's organs have formed a complete structure until their wings have matured and they fly out of the nest. This process usually takes about 8 to 13 days, because each individual bee develops at a different time. From egg to bee, drone takes 23 days. The worker bee takes 20 days, but the queen bee takes even less time. It only takes 16 days. In fact, once a bee leaves the hive, it's destined to work every day. Bee society has its own clear division of labor. The queen bee's social division of labor is to lay eggs and reproduce. The drone's social division of labor is to mate with the queen, but this mating is at the cost of their lives. At the end of each mating session, drone's genitals will be pulled off by the queen bee and he will die in tears. The worker bees have the most social divisions, except for mating. The worker bees do all the work in the colony. Workers start working as soon as they're born. The division of labor changes according to age. Normally, when the worker bees are 3 to 6 days old, they are responsible for keeping the eggs warm and cleaning the laying room. From 6 to 12 days, they are responsible for the production of royal jelly to feed the larvae and the queen. At 12 to 18 days, the bees switch to cleaning the hives and using beeswax to build the hive. After 18 days, it's time to go out and collect nectar and pollen. The downy hairs on its legs help it to collect pollen. It'll sort out all the pollen it's collected and stick it to the fluff on its hind legs. When he's collected a third of his body weight in pollen, it returns to the hive to unload and encapsulate the pollen in beeswax. In order to make 1 kilogram of honey in its lifetime, a worker bee needs to collect 10 kilograms of nectar. In total, they have to travel 320,000 kilometers. That's a distance equivalent to circling the Earth 8 times. This strenuous work in the morning and at night. The average lifespan of a worker bee is only 30 days, until the very end of their lives. It's tiring, but it's better than Drone, who died from mating.
Why a bicycle can maintain its balance? This seemingly simple question has plagued countless scientists for nearly 100 years and remains unsolved even to this day. As early as the end of the 18th century, the Frenchman Chirac invented the world's first bicycle. At first, he was just a bench with 2 wheels. After decades of upgrading and remodeling to its current form. Have you ever wondered how a bicycle can keep its balance at high speeds? And what kind of scientific principles and technological mysteries are hidden behind it? Over the past 100 years, many scientists have published numerous papers on the theory of bicycle balance, and one of the more influential theories is the gyroscopic effect of the wheels. Simply put, the gyroscopic effect is the inertia of a rotating object to maintain its direction of rotation. The 2 spinning wheels of a bicycle just meet this requirement when traveling. So in terms of angular momentum and mechanics in physics, the gyroscopic effect seems like a perfect explanation. So for nearly 100 years, this idea was accepted by everyone. It was not until 1970 that David Juntz of the United Kingdom proposed in a paper that when a moving bicycle has a tilt angle, the bicycle will automatically generate a deflection angle to the tilted side due to the trailing effect of the front wheel. This deflection angle is automatically corrected by centrifugal force, so that the bicycle remains stable at a certain speed. But even more interestingly, in 2011, a team of researchers from the University of Darfur in the Netherlands used experiments to completely disprove these 2 theories. They added a rim to the front wheel of the bike, and the 2 wheels rotated in opposite directions, which completely canceled out the gyroscopic effect. And the trailing edge of the front wheel on this bike is a very small negative value. So this bike, which has no gyroscopic effect and no front wheel trailing, is still able to balance in motion even when unmanned. In fact, there's no fixed theory as to why a bicycle can be balanced. The balance of the bike is also related to the driver's own perception and regulation. While riding, the human body constantly senses its own position and dynamic changes, and the brain reacts quickly through the nervous system to adjust the body's posture and center of gravity to keep the bike balanced. At the same time, the structural design of the bicycle is also a key factor in maintaining balance. Do you know how dangerous a tiny ant can be? A bite from it can cause shock or death. Today we'll list the 5 most dangerous ants in the world, especially the first one. The level of danger is unimaginable. Number 5, Colobopsis saundersi. Colobopsis saundersi is also known as the exploding ant. You don't want to mess with it because when it gets angry, it blows itself up. It stores a corrosive and chemically irritating gelatinous secretion in its abdomen. If it doesn't stand a chance in a fight with an enemy, it won't hesitate to sacrifice itself to sacrifice themselves and die with the enemy. Number 4, army ant. The army ant colony is very large, unlike ordinary ants. It doesn't have a fixed nest. They're constantly on the move from birth, and when they hunt, they form a regular formation, like an army marching through the forest. They'll attack any animal they meet along the way. Once targeted, they're quickly eliminated. Wherever they go, there's nothing left but bones. Number 3, the red fire ant. The red fire ant is a highly venomous ant that releases its venom through needles in its abdomen. A bite from this ant is as painful as being burned. The skin of the bitten ant will be swollen and ulcerated. In severe cases, it can be life-threatening, The red fire ant is one of the most dangerous invasive species. Not only do they pose a danger to humans, it also causes serious damage to the local environment. Number 2, Myrmecia nigriceps. This is the most powerful ant in the colony. It's also one of the most dangerous ants in the world. It has a ferocious personality and will attack any animal that gets in its way. Myrmecia nigriceps has powerful toxins and sharp jaws. A sting can cause a rapid swelling and blistering of the wound. The most toxic of the Myrmecia nigriceps is the jack-jumper ant, which can cause anaphylactic shock or death within minutes. Fortunately, humans have developed a vaccine. Number 1, the bullet ant. It's one of the most poisonous ants in the world. A bite from a bullet ant is as painful as being hit by a bullet. It causes unimaginable pain. An American entomologist has experienced the bites of more than 150 species of insects. He ranked bullet ants as the #1 source of pain. The venom of the bullet ants can even affect the human nervous system, causing muscle spasms. The intense pain can last up to 24 hours without relief. The pain can stick in your head for the rest of your life.